Your criticism sucks forever. It really fucking sucks. Yes, it fucking does. It really fucking blows. Yes, it fucking does.
Shut up, bitch!
I want to start off by giving you all some context. My issue with Renegade Operative has to do with a few things he said in his recent Dead Space Remake video. The video in question is titled, "Your Criticism Circulating Around the Dead Space Remake Just Really Sucks Forever, Part 3. One issue was that he misquoted me and thought I wouldn't notice. Well, I noticed, and here we are. I saw his video because it was sent to me from Reborn 6H19. I never asked for the video or knew whether or not the video in question was being made. However, I was curious to see what the whole fuss was about with the Dead Space remake. I didn't even know a lot of people were making videos going back and forth over this game until recently. I'm also a fan of the Dead Space series, not a hardcore fan, and it's been years since I played DS1 or 2, and I have yet to play DS3. Renegade Operative's video is littered with counter-arguments that you may have seen used in other forms of media when met with criticism, which is really my main issue here. I'm sure the lame argument will be made that I'm somehow mad, hurt, or emotional, etc, etc. A bunch of ad hominems, yet people like Renegade will make several videos responding to other people's takes on the game. But I'm not mad at Renegade Operative. I simply disagree with some of his points. To clarify, I'm not here trying to fight anyone's battles. The people Renegade talked about can fight their own battles. I'm addressing what was clearly said about me, along with his disingenuous talking points. Besides, Renegade said it himself that response videos are fine, and he welcomes them. Here's the clip.
He just simply talked about a video he made that was content for me that I disagree with, and I think it's fine to make opinion pieces and dissertations and sort of back and forth on YouTube, because if people are advocating for this in the other direction, then why not have your favorite creator also disagree with? That's totally fine. So let's continue on.
Now, me and Renegade had occasional interactions in the past, all being good from what I remember. He may remember I had a shitty mic and loud background noise at the time. Aside from all this, he seemed like an alright guy, though people can change over time. I haven't been subscribed to him in a few years due to no longer caring for his content, and felt no need to stay subscribed. It's not like I was an avid viewer anyway. I'm explaining all of this to avoid any potential lies or exaggerations if he decides to respond. But regardless of that, it doesn't change how I feel about some of his points in his video. And no, this is not an attempt to sick my subscribers to his channel and bother him, just in case he or anyone tries to spin that narrative. I'm not advocating for that. This video of his was a response to some guy I never heard of and forgot his name, along with Synthetic Man, Hardy Times, and Reborn 6H19. Another thing to point out is his video was originally 51 minutes long. I won't show the whole video, just the parts I want to address, but the sections of his video may be long due to the fact I didn't want everything to be fully out of context when responding. However, I will leave the link to his video in the description below if you want to watch the video in its entirety. So now that's out the way, I'm gonna address his points and start off with what he said about me. After that, the rest of the video will be in order. Keep in mind, he made jokes and threw verbal jabs at the people he was responding to, so I'll do the same. Anyway, here it is.
Again, it's all for what I see is faces and animations, and I've played the game. I've already played it, so I know how fluid it feels. It feels really good. I saw a guy talking about, oh man, they clearly didn't have to work with limitations in the past for the PS3 era and Xbox 360, and I won't out him, but he said that, and I'm like, you are ignorant. You are very, very ignorant, because we clearly know Dead Space, the original, back then, there was limitations. It was admitted by the developers, and clearly they updated and refined this game to play better.
Funny you call me ignorant, because if we look at the comment you are obviously referring to, we can see what I actually said. Does that look like what you said? It's clear my comment was about Nicole's new face and how she looks in the remake, and how it was done on purpose. Have you been playing games blindfolded for years that you can't see how butt ugly these female characters look? You tried during this long ass video to sound smart, yet you couldn't even properly quote my comment or even say my name, saying you didn't want to out me. Out me from what? It can't be about respect, because you called me ignorant while misquoting me, and it obviously was my comment. I'm not stupid. Look at what I wrote and hear what you said. In fact, let's look and listen.
And I've played the game. I've already played it, so I know how fluid it feels. It feels really good. I saw a guy talking about, oh man, they clearly didn't have to work with limitations in the past for the PS3 era and Xbox 360, and I won't out him, but he said that, and I'm like, you are ignorant. You are very, very ignorant, because we clearly know Dead Space, the original, back then, there was limitations. It was admitted by the developers, and clearly they updated and refined this game to play better.
Next time, just say my name and show the comment, instead of trying to make yourself look good just to simp for a video game. Why lie? My comment was not about gameplay limitations. It was about EA Motive deliberately making Nicole look like all of the typical modern day females, fucking ugly. You do know you can like the Dead Space Remake while also pointing out its flaws, right? You are aware that it's possible that the original does certain things better than the remake, right? Also, modeling characters' faces after the voice actors does not mean they have to purposely look ugly or look identical to the voice actor, especially when said voice actor looks nothing like the original character. How is that not an issue? Why wouldn't people critique that? All this new technology and EA money, but they can't make the characters look at least somewhat faithful to their original designs?
That's all I'm getting from this video. I can't watch anything else. I'm going to hit the dislike, and let's move on to the next one, which is this synthetic man comments that I'm going to let play, and will give context as to what is going on when the video is over. It's only like 48 seconds long.
$10. Just got in the stream. How's the game? It's the same game. They tweaked a lot of combat elements. They added a lot of gay woke shit that normies are gonna ignore because it's not shoved in your face constantly. But it's not subtle either. Let's be real. It's not subtle either. It's just everyone has been brainwashed. We have to accept that we're in the minority now. We absolutely are. Because dumb people can very easily be fed subliminal propaganda constantly and never even notice. As long as you're just not telling them explicitly, we want to replace you, we wish you were all dead, thanks for your money though. You know, that's basically $10. Just got in the stream. How's the...
Okay, so that was a pretty fucking terrible video. Synthetic Man's whole entire content modem is trash. His whole spiel about everything is just, once again, like, at this point I think someone made the best comment on him. Just simply say you're a racist. Just say it. No more trying to hide behind, oh, it's just my defense and all this other shit. And what he's complaining about is the fact that there is this sign, all gender restroom, and then the other thing is, if I can read this like correctly, it says, fuck this ship, it is a shitty capitalist blah blah blah. Okay, so subliminal messages on walls. Let's attack this first point. On walls are sprawled everywhere, and I do know people that fucking hate constantly spending all this bullshit, but you know, capitalists, we gotta do things to live, blah blah blah. You know how it goes. But anyway, subliminals, people hating the system, hating the man, sprawled messages all over the place written by survivors or people who didn't like their quarters in the first place. That's common to sci-fi horror. There's always going to be posters, propagandas. We know this by now. I'm pretty sure if you saw Starship Troopers, you would have a brain aneurysm. That being said, for the bathroom thing, I didn't notice this sign until later. And of course, I'm naturally playing the game to experience the game and witness the game and talk about what is transpiring in the game, as opposed to focusing on one little in-game sign that has an all neutral restroom. And to be quite honest, how can I say this in layman's terms, who gives a fuck, right? Except for you, because you clearly, this really bothers you that this has happened in a fictional spaceship in the future, in a fictional world where you're not forced to be in these bathrooms or anything, etc. And I don't think that is the developers hating you. It's just the insignia they wanted to put in the game. Running around a horror game just focusing on this sign in particular and saying that you're going to refund it just because of this, like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, it's just like I said before, just say you are phobic. Just say you are racist. Just say you are sexist. Just say you are transphobic, and it will definitely stick. Because this is what this reads off as, and it is behavior that is very weird. Like, just simply say it. Just admit what you are, because I have a feeling that some folks, when they're called out on this stuff, they just live in denial about it, and they won't accept it that they embark on this whole hate stereotype, and it's just odd behavior. Like, extremists aren't good no matter the circumstance, and this did not bother me when I saw it. It's like, people are gonna be what they want to be. They're gonna either stay what they were assigned as birth, or they could change that if they want to, and I have no issues with you if you make that conscious choice. It's your body, your choice. You do what you want. I respect that. Like, that's the most peaceful and civil way to show my opinion. And if you think that's something that is very, very tiny, it's a tiny sign in the grand scheme of this game. We got boss fights, we got fucking necromorphs, we got a whole intensity meter, intensity fucking director watching us and doing RNG new moments in the game. If you're not talking about that, then clearly you went into this game with an agenda to hate it just because this exists. And if you feel this way, I feel sorry for you, because you're just not a person that is conscious to other people. And that's how I feel about that. That was the best way to put it.
Synthetic Man is correct. A lot of people get fed subliminal propaganda and eat it up, while not noticing because it's not explained to them in detail. Clearly, you are one of those people, because all of this obvious propaganda flies over your head. You claim Synthetic Man's content is trash. Why? Because he talks negatively about the games you like? He is allegedly racist because he doesn't like forced representation and calls companies out for it? Let me guess. You love race and gender swaps, and anyone who dares question any of this is racist or sexist. Why not just admit you are a corporate slave that will bend over backwards for EA? Out of all the companies to make videos for, it's fucking EA. You think this remake was made because they love you and the fans? No. They saw what Capcom was doing and wanted a piece of the pie. And yes, I know companies look to make money. Let's keep in mind EA meddled in the Dead Space series, which is what led to Dead Space 3 and the eventual closure of Visceral Games. Before Visceral got shut down, EA assigned them to work on the single-player campaign of Battlefield Hardline. Then when Amy Hennig joined EA, her and Visceral were making a single-player Star Wars game, but that got cancelled. Visceral got shut down, and Amy Hennig left EA. What a great company. The point about the all-gender restrooms is a valid criticism. It's subliminal, something you seem to not know. It was not in the original, so why is it here now? You mentioned how the game is not real and is fantasy, but why are we seeing forced modern-day far-left propaganda like all-gender restrooms? Can you explain the reason behind that, smart guy? You ask who gives a fuck? Well, I'll tell you who gives a fuck. People who don't willingly shut their brains off when playing a video game. You're exactly who EA and all these companies cater to. Sheep who shut up their brains and won't dare question anything. They know they can count on you to pull out your wallet, drop your pants, and be a good little consumer pig. Messages on the walls about capitalism is not the same as messages written in blood or claw marks. Do you not see the connections here? The social commentary in this game is clearly there. Not everyone has to like it or ignore it. Being self-aware is a good thing. Once again, not all of us want to shut off our brains while playing a video game. You want people who take issue with these type of subliminal messages to admit they are phobic. Hold on, you do know a phobe is a fear of something, right? People taking issue with any of this are not afraid of it. They are annoyed by it, because it seems like no matter the setting or context of the game, movie, or show, the creators are obsessed with wanting us to see it. I'm gay and the minority. This shit is nauseating. But I guess I'm a phobe too, huh? I fear the LGBT people, huh? This trend of calling people racist, sexist, and homophobic because they criticize a form of media is pathetic. Listening to your video and hearing the arguments you made and the way you went about it seems like someone who's indoctrinated by the constant hive mind propaganda that has been plaguing society. Another guy who, for whatever reason, can't see the blatant agendas that has been sprinkled in media for years now. There's a reason why people take issue with subliminal messages in media. Think about that before assuming everyone is racist, sexist, or homophobic. You mentioned how people run around in a horror game looking for signs to point out and embark on a hate stereotype. Not true, but nice try. How many times do we as gamers stop and soak in the atmosphere of games? How many little Easter eggs and cross-promotion signs do we see or look for? YouTube channels such as Did You Know Gaming and Oddheader are dedicated to stuff like that. So of course people will run into the subliminal messages in this game along with any additional discoveries. Just because people point out the subliminal messages in this game does not mean they have no further opinion on the game. And let's be real, if people talked about the gameplay and all the new features in this game but also brought up the subliminal messages, you would take issue with that. You went into your video with an agenda to go after easy targets to give your perspective validation. I bet you won't make a video trying to debunk someone who is organized and tackles every point in detail. You see people who are not well organized, not good at public speaking, and whose first language is not English as easy prey. It's all a cheap tactic to sell people on your disingenuous talking points.
But we have this final thing with Hearteat and the Kendra Daniels situation, which is an extreme lack of reading. So I will read this off and then I will elaborate a little bit more. So he says, I'm not one to call everything woke, but I find it real funny that in the first 5 minutes of Dead Space Remake, Daniels tells us she's a lesbian with dialogue that wasn't there in the first game. In fact, I'm 99% sure that her sexual preference was never mentioned in the first game. And then someone replied, lie. In Dead Space Remake, if you actually listen to it, she's saying she would rather listen to her girlfriend ramble on than listen to Hammond rambling. Fake as hell. And Daniel says, I don't blame you. I'd rather listen to my girlfriend over Hammond reciting security protocols. Then I make a response and I say, media literacy is dead if people don't understand characters speaking in third person anymore. If they don't understand the notion of, if I was in your shoes, I would do this or that, etc. Fucking wow, man. So it's a mixture of like third person and first person with how Kendra established this situation. She's talking about herself and what she would do if she was in Isaac's shoes. You see what I'm saying? It's nothing that signifies her personally having a girlfriend or anything like that. It's what she would do if she was in Isaac's shoes, and she wouldn't want to listen to Hammond be on this security speech tirade. She would rather be talking to Nicole if she was Isaac in that situation. That's how I took it. And it's weird that people don't understand basic English or comprehend what is happening in this situation. It's not confirming that she's with someone. She's saying that if she was Isaac and Isaac has the girlfriend, that the girlfriend would be far more interesting than Zach Hammond. You see what I'm saying? So, oh man, it just never fails with how some of this criticism on Dead Space Remake is just really, really bad. And I guess it goes without saying that your criticism sucks forever.
Heartache Times is not wrong for assuming that Kendra was referring to her girlfriend. I mean, we got all gender bathrooms, so is it really a stretch to assume EA Motive will be trying to tell the player that Kendra is lesbian? However, your assumption could be true as well. She may not be insinuating she has an actual girlfriend, but simply a friend. Or she could be speaking hypothetically. Both assumptions could be true, but to try to dismiss Heartache's assumption is once again disingenuous, when there's evidence to back up his assumptions. Not just from this game, but other games, movies, and shows that hinted at this type of forced dialogue. Then you say how people can't comprehend what's happening, yet you can't piece together the blatant changes to characters' faces and subliminal messages and environments. Maybe you should comprehend what's going on, then you might see where people are coming from.
I don't, the fan base doesn't dictate what I do. So if I want to argue with a fan base, I'm more than inclined to do so if I want to. This is why I've argued with RE people, DMC people, anti Last of Us people. I can do what I want, as long as I am explaining why, and I'm not just saying, oh man, this content creator is shit. Why? I'm not going to explain why, man. As long as I'm not doing anything like that, that is very shallow and can't be explained, then I'm good.
So you like arguing with a lot of people, huh? When doing so, do you misquote them and leave out their name? Do you chalk up any criticism as people being racist, sexist, or homophobic? Do you go back and forth with people who aren't good at getting their points across in order to feel better about your opinion?
I will read the comments that I gave, which is a summary, because I like delving in the comment section and being a little fire hazard in the comment section. So let's go with this. So, all right. I decided to hit my head against the wall and listen to the rest of this. What other feedback needs to be implemented in the Dead Space Remake? I've played the game and the game is good. Is Synthetic Man complaining about bathrooms or posters having persons of color considered constructive feedback? Or is that just some racial shit because he didn't like a black or Chinese individual on a poster? I think you need to learn the difference between constructive feedback that enhances the gameplay loop versus people just cherry picking for things that's not really a big deal. The only fix I can think of is a small patch that centers the camera just a little bit when Isaac backs into a wall. It's very minor, but Isaac may wonk out slightly in that circumstance. All this other stuff is just either the removal of people or the removal of actors who were asked to mocap the game. And I think that in itself is disrespectful to them, especially if they've already been paid. Yeah, I don't think you people are thinking too clearly when you advocate against that side of the spectrum, unless you're all for actors losing their money. You might as well say so, right? Anyway, faces change all the time in the remake, and I'm utterly shocked that people pretend to be so surprised by this information. Whether it's a one-for-one remake or reimagining, we've seen almighty changes to the actors in some fashion. Even Jill looked different when they had her actress who was I forget her name, Izay or something. I don't know. I know it starts with I. It's very Italian. It sounds Italian, but I'm pretty sure it's not. Either way, Jill's actress that they had for the live action cutscenes in RE1 OG, Jill doesn't look the same when going from that game to Remake 1. If there's an adamant nature against this premise, then I'm surprised if the natural response isn't to ban every remake that you own by this point that focuses on AAA criteria. So I made that sort of fallback in case people say, oh, well, Mega Man Maverick Hunter X didn't change X's face. That's different. That's a different fucking art style entirely. That's like going for some anime drawn shit versus the art styles that are realistic, where obviously there's even the ones that are super stylized, like Shadow of the Colossus, they've changed faces too, so it's not mutually exclusive even to that. So I just wanted to put that comment out there and explain why I wrote it that way. Either way, let's see, where was I? This is small potatoes, shallow stuff, and I think you know this. I'll ask again. How does this affect the overall quality of the game if it is a fundamental flaw of how the game is coordinated? You figured there'd be bigger problems like bugs, performance, and what have you, but this is not tangible to those situations. I believe this is a cultural problem people have where Nicole is not hot as possible, therefore it's lesser than to them as a product. You can't get mad if this is what people say and see when recognizing what your claims are and not agreeing versus having bigger fish to fry. In conclusion, y'all say people are emotional over this game, but you guys are very emotional over pixelated characters and faces and people that you mostly see in small holograms when you play Dead Space Remake. And I thoroughly believe all of that is true. Until then, this is Renegade Operative, once again, going through the arguments, cycling through yet again, hopefully, and you know someone else is going to respond to that video, even though I laid everything out perfectly, but hey, I say bring it on, and it warrants either more debates or more responses to your dissenting crap, especially if you make up stuff on me and think I'm some mob boss that sent a capo over to attack Lucky Strike when I really didn't need to do that. It's just me responding to all the stupid shit that he said. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. Later.
I don't know why in your comment you had to bring up Synthetic Man when he wasn't even mentioned in Reborn's video, unless I missed that part. But regardless, why not just stay on topic instead of bringing up someone who has nothing to do with the video? You can clearly see my comment there. You could have properly read it instead of making shit up just to help fill your narrative. But in regards to Reborn's video, it was long, that could have been shorter. But I get what he was trying to say. A few points I agree with. The part with you and that British runner guy, I knew nothing of, so I had no opinion on that. But you cleared that up in your video and gave proof. However, yes, his video could have been handled better. But like I said, I'm not here to fight anyone's battles. If you two want to go back and forth, then go ahead. In regards to your comment about remakes changing characters' faces, the changes in Dead Space Remake are not the same to past remakes. Look at original Isaac and Nicole, then compare them to remake Isaac and Nicole. This is not a PS1 game being remade. This is a game that came out on 360, PS3, and PC that had fairly detailed faces that were intended to look the way they did for a reason. just like Isaac was intended to not talk in the original. None of this had anything to do with limitations. This is not a cultural problem. No one is trying to bang a video game character. No one is having wet dreams about Nicole or anything like that. This is a lame argument that is just a lazy attempt to try to shut people down and look cool. What's next? Are you going to tell people to touch grass? Take the blindfold off and really see how these characters look. Nicole is not the only character to get a modern day facelift. Look at Kate from Gears of War 4 to 5. Look at Chloe from Uncharted 2, 3, and Lost Legacy. Better yet, go look at the women who get modeled for these characters. You'll see they are purposely made to look less attractive. Why are they being toned down to look less appealing? When you see a woman, what catches your eye? Do you know her personality right away? Of course not. You see how she looks and it catches your attention. This is not rocket science. So it's not some weird phenomenon that we, as people, point out how characters look, especially when we have the original designs to compare it to. Keep calling people emotional while you make multi-part short films about people critiquing the new horror remake from EA. Feel free to respond to this or ignore it if you want. But let me make one last thing clear. The Dead Space Remake looks good, overall. The painstakingly obvious subliminal nonsense is an issue. Another issue is the odd inclusion of trigger warnings. Is this not a horror game? Will EA Motive add a safe space as DLC? I remember the original not having pussy shit like that. Last issue is with the agenda that's being pulled. You can choose to ignore all that, but not everyone will. Trying to lump people into a hate group because they point out these issues is weak. But hey, you're free to do what you want and express your opinion. You have your opinion, I have my opinion. Nothing wrong with liking the game, but perhaps consider your morals over the need to buy the shiny new thing. You may still think people's criticism still sucks forever, but I just wanted to address some of your bogus talking points and correct a lie you try to tell to big up yourself. I know what I said. You spent 51 minutes rambling on with this superiority complex you got going on, claim people are racist, sexist, and homophobic, basically calling people incels, then call me ignorant, and act like you were trying to spare me of something. You want to spare me of something? Spare me of your condescending rhetoric.